What's going on? What's going on, whole world? You have tuned into the North Star Podcast. I'm your humble and gracious host, Simba Ali. We are in the building. I told everybody, a lot of people were cracking jokes. They were like, oh, what's the big deal? You got a sex worker, right? They were cracking jokes. I'm a Tessa Nicole, trying to pigeonhole my interviews. And I told you I was coming back, baby. This isn't about the person. This is about the people. We got Councilman Blaine, 3rd Ward, Chris Massoglia in the house today. Can we give you applause? Really good. What's going on, Chris?
Not much. Thanks for having me, Simba. I really appreciate it.
Yep, thanks for being on the show, man. I appreciate it. Now, you are, of course, the winner of the current election of councilman. I voted for you.
Thank you. Really appreciate the support. You had a sign for me out front, too. Really appreciate it.
Representing.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I was representing my gang the right way. And it was, when I voted, your name was one of the only ones that I read. I was like, there's Chris, there he goes. Yep. That's the guy right there. It wasn't hard to sift through. The way that we met was kind of peculiar, I would say, but interesting. You were campaigning.
Yep.
And you had knocked on the door and asked if you could put a sign in the front yard there.
Yep.
And I had advised you then. I was like, hey, man, I do a podcast. It would be cool if you could come on the podcast if you win. And you were like, hey, no problem. We'll see how things go. I don't know if I'm going to win. We'll see how things go.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is just chatter. That's that politician chatter. You guys know.
Hey,
that
I'm
politician
here.
So I reached out to Chris, and I'm like, Chris, hey, you won, man. Is it cool if you come on the show? And you were like, yeah, no problem. Definitely. And so I was like, that's really cool, Chris, for you to at least accept the request and get back to me. And now we're here on the show. So.
No problem. I really appreciate you reaching out. I'm a creative, and I just, I think it's awesome that you're just going for it, and you've been doing this podcast for a few years now, and it's awesome. So, it's sweet that you're in Blaine. You're doing a podcast from Blaine, Minnesota, and just hitting issues, and it's great. So thanks for having me on.
No problem. Well, so now, getting right to it, you are the current councilman of the 3rd Ward, correct, Blaine, here?
Yep.
And I was going over a few of the things that you touched on as far as your campaign and things you kind of wanted to work on. And we'll get to a lot of that later throughout the interview. But one of the things I did want to ask you about is what is your feelings currently on what's going on at the Capitol? With everybody storming and all of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
How do you feel about that? Do you feel that, it's kind of split? Do you feel that there might be two segments that, there's a half of that just kind of wanted to march there, protest, and voice their opinion? And then kind of like with Black Lives Matter, there's the peaceful people that march, and then you have the agitators, and it's kind of hard to differentiate between the two because they get meshed. What are your feelings on that?
Oh, definitely. I think there's always, with any group, you have, the crazy people that want to go burn stuff down, and, and you have people that are genuinely there just to kind of to be there to make a difference. And you have people that are there just because they're curious and they're like, oh, what's going on? Let's go just follow the crowd. I think it was a sad situation, obviously. I thought there was a lot of interesting things that happened just the whole day. I saw a bunch of videos online where, police were like opening gates and just like letting people, come into things.
Gosh.
And so, there's a lot of questions with everything. Obviously, I don't think that violence and, just protesting where you're breaking stuff or trying to break into places is ever really the answer. I think people should be able to assemble, gather, protest peacefully, but when you're destroying property or you're trying to break into things or burn things down or whatever it is, that's never the answer. And I would always condemn that kind of protesting. I don't think that's the way to go. Yeah,
it's crazy, man. Naturally, when I was watching it happen, a part of me kind of felt like a little. It's hard to say. I don't want to say proud because that's not necessarily the word, but this is how the course of America has been. If you talk about the genesis with the Sons of Liberty and the Tea Party, and when Americans do not like the laws, the policies being imposed upon us as the people, we do have a tendency of being a little aggressive when it comes to talking to the people imposing or putting forth those policies.
Yep.
So when I see people storming the Capitol as an American, there's a part of me that is like, well, yeah, that is, sometimes they're not listening to us.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And sometimes, but then when you hear about the people that pass away, that's when, as a human, you're like, well, I don't want anybody to pass away.
Right.
You know what I mean? But sometimes things have to happen. So, with this whole political election with Donald Trump and Joe Biden, do you feel that maybe there's a true current change of power going on here? Because usually the changing of when somebody loses or wins the election, the electoral election for president of the United States, it's usually kind of a peaceful, all right, man, it's your turn, back and forth. The only time in history that I've known for it to get violent like this is when there's a true kind of regime change going on here. You know what I mean? Do you feel like that might be happening as far as your understanding and you being in the
I don't think so. No? I mean, I don't think people are ready to like take up arms and go start going crazy at state capitals or anything like that. Okay. And I mean, I hope and pray that we're not at that point. I mean, if we are, that'd be, in my opinion, a sad day for America. And I just, I hope that we're not at that point. Like you said, I mean, I think there is kind of that heart of the American patriot, inside a lot of us as Americans, where it's like, hey, if there was injustice, if there was fraud, if this election was stolen, like, heck yeah, we're going to do something about it. Like, we don't want this to happen, So I get that people might feel that way, but, I really hope that we're, not going to be seeing crazy violence and riots and stuff this spring and this summer. I hope and pray that we're not going to see that. So I'm with you
on that. Being from Minnesota, it just kind of seems like we're like the forefront of all this. You know what I'm saying? Of the whole current situation. How have you and your family, like we said, the holidays have just passed. How was your holidays, your Christmas?
It was good. Thanks, man. Yeah, we had obviously different with COVID and everything this year, but we kind of just broke it up and hung out with my mom, dad, extended family. We did go and see my grandpa in Michigan. Okay. I just had a son early this year, and he was the first great-grandson kind of on that whole side of the family.
Hey, shout out to Junior.
Yep.
Shout out to Chris Massoglia.
He's actually the third. I'm the junior.
You're junior.
Yeah, I'm junior.
Okay.
And you're the fourth, right? Yeah.
From a fourth to a junior.
Yep. So I got a ways to go to catch up with.
Got a lot of ways to go to catch up with me, man. They still look at you normally like, oh, junior. They look at me like, all right, what is this? What is this going on? We're going on the 6th and 7th one?
Yeah.
Really?
Hey, I think that's sweet. So yeah, my son's the third, but he's the first kind of great-grandson on that whole side. So it was really cool for my grandpa just to, see his great-grandson and just kind of see that.
Breathe on.
Third generation. So yeah, that was cool. Nice. So that was a good trip, but yeah.
How was it in Michigan? In Michigan, was it cold?
Not as cold as Minnesota.
Really?
Yeah, Minnesota was colder, so
yeah,
they didn't have as much.
We've had a nice winter this year.
Yeah, it's been pretty mild.
We've been slapped with a couple blizzards here and there that made us slide around. But as far as temperature, I mean, we've been blessed this year. It also kind of makes me worry about climate change. I don't think I never thought that the climate thing is real until this year. I'm like, wait a second, man, it's a little warm in Minnesota. There might be something to that. So now, as a councilman in Blaine.
Yeah.
There are a few things that I'm learning. I'm a new resident out here, but I do have a few friends out here, and I move around and I talk to people that they're concerned about. And one of the things that they are concerned about was this Prior Park? Is that at the
Pioneer
Park? Pioneer Park.
Yep.
And what's going on with there? What is happening with that? Is it like did you say it's a wet bank?
So Pioneer Park it's currently a park, so it's right off Main Street, right over here, and it's the park kind of right on the north side of Main Street, and they've got some big trees in there, some trails, and essentially what's happening is the city's kind of looking at things and saying, hey, there's a lot of diseased trees and different things in here, and we want to basically kind of get rid of those trees and potentially create a wetland. And so it's pretty controversial. A lot of the neighbors up in our ward here in Ward 3, which is North Blaine, a lot of our neighbors are not super excited about it just because they like the park. They like the trees, they like the wooded area, and there's not a lot of wooded area left in North Blaine. You look around, we have so much development going on. Pretty much everywhere you look is new houses going up, and there's not a lot of parks with like big old trees. And so the neighbors really like that, and obviously the houses that are kind of on the edge of Pioneer Park, really like looking out their window and seeing the trees and all that kind of stuff. And I think anytime the city's like, hey, we're gonna go cut down trees, people are like, wait a minute, like, what are you doing? Like, why are you, why are you trying to do that?
Especially when it's a place where they go. You know,
Exactly.
Wait a second, sweetie, they're, where we go, they're talking about cutting that down.
Yep.
So now when it comes to the redevelopment of Blaine, where do you stand with that? Are you for because Blaine is developing rapidly now.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when me being born in Minnesota, Blaine meant going out to go see farms or something like that. It was like you didn't go out to cities and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, now we are really developing fast. So how do you feel about the development of Blaine? Are you for it? Are you pro the development? Is it a certain direction that you would like to see it developed in, more residential rather than retail or vice versa? How do you feel about how Blaine is going as far as our development?
I'm not anti-development, but I want to see us develop in a way that's smart and efficient. I don't think that we need to be incentivizing residential growth. So, there's a couple projects, that were incentivized. We had a quote low income senior apartment project that we gave $1 million to off Lexington. The city's used incentives before for townhomes and just different residential. So I don't think that the city should be incentivizing more residential growth because we've just exploded with residential development. And, 80 to, I think 90% of residential development, they don't need an incentive. They don't need a tax break.
Right.
They're making a ton of money on these homes. These development companies, a lot of them are national development companies that are making just a ton of money. And so we don't need to be incentivizing residential growth here. What I think we need to be incentivizing is unique industry, retail, business opportunities, the things that wouldn't necessarily come to Blaine without a significant tax break or an incentive. So I think that we need to, be really smart about it. We also need to be really smart about, where we're developing and the locations and, not just kind of, oh, hey, we're going to put a strip mall in over here and we're going to put a residential neighborhood across from an industrial park. And, the city has a plan, they have a vision for it, but I think it could use some improvement. And I think that kind of together, hopefully this new council and the new mayor that we have in Blaine, I think we'll have some great ideas for, how to develop Blaine in the right way and just have smart development here.
Mm-hmm. Now, when I was looking at, like I say, the things that you're campaigning for, I noticed that you speak about a transparent government.
Yeah.
Is that a little bit into that, like you're talking about, like even with me, when I talk about how you were knocking door to door, putting your stands in people's yard, and also all throughout Blaine, like we were speaking earlier, and I was telling you that my wife was like, God, all we see is this guy's, thing, this guy's sign. And when I hear transparent government, when I see how you're engaging with people, is that part of it? Like figuring out, how do you guys feel about us going forward with these things rather than doing it and then just kind of telling the people, it's done, this is what's going on, kind of move things back
exactly.
to 2 acres.
Yep.
Is that what transparent government means?
Yeah,
is going
that's
to the
definitely
people
part
and
of it.
figuring out how they feel about the rapid growth of Blaine?
Yeah, exactly. That's part of it is, our job is to represent the neighborhood. Our job is to represent the community. And so making sure that the community understands what's happening, like, with Pioneer Park, making sure that all the neighbors know, hey, this is what the city wants to do. The city wants to take this much of Pioneer Park and create a wetland. How do you guys feel about that? And, when I was door knocking, a lot of the neighborhoods were like, no, don't do it,
Okay.
And so just kind of taking that back and, being honest and, representing the needs of the people and not just saying, well, the city wants to do this, so I'm going to vote for it because I know that, this is something that could benefit the city financially. So yeah, that's definitely part of it. Another part of it is just making sure we have transparency in our budget. That's a big thing for me is, making sure what we're spending, going through and saying, hey, what is other services? Like, we have a line item for other services for,
right.
$800,000 or something. I'm just making something up right now.
Right.
But like stuff like that, it's like we gotta make sure that we're just being totally transparent with, our budget, just how we're communicating, and just how we're representing the people. So
I agree. I agree. That would make me feel more comfortable with politicians. Like even you just being here, Chris. You know what I mean? Even the fact that you not only took the time to respond, but actually kept your word on coming through and being on the podcast. That says a lot. And it also says a lot about the directions of what I like to say, the young politician. I said that to you when you came that day. I was like, you're young. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, I like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it means you grew up in a different time. You see the world where it's going rather than where it was.
Definitely.
So I really like that. I hear you talking about, you said you want you said you wanted Blaine School and Businesses to be the envy of North Metro. Kind of explain what you meant by that. Like our school systems mainly. We kind of talked about the businesses, but when you say school systems.
Yeah, so Blaine has, I think in a lot of ways we have some strong schools here in Blaine. I think that, we have some great private schools here, but we kind of have a lot of different school districts. We actually have, I think it's like 4 different school districts in Blaine. We have Anoka Hennepin, we got Centennial, Spring Lake Park.
Yeah.
So, we got a lot, we're kind of chopped up in a lot of different areas with school districts. But, I think, when you look at even like the western Twin City suburbs and, different schools and different places that are like, oh, wow, Apple Valley is known for wrestling, or different schools are known for different things. I think it'd be cool, not just with sports, but with education. I want to do what I can to support, our education system and private schools. And city council doesn't do a ton with schools, just because the school district decides a lot of things as far as, curriculum and a lot of those decisions. But, we can help the school districts plan out the future. For example, having another high school here. With all the development that's going on, we might need another high school in 10 to 15 years. So where are we going to put that? Are we going to do, because the current high school is in Northwest Blaine, so are we going to do like a Southeast high school? Are we going to have Blaine North, Blaine South? Or are we going to do, there's a lot of land here in the Northeast. We could do Blaine West and Blaine East. Just kind of having some of those conversations, bringing some of those up, and making sure that our schools don't get overpopulated and overcrowded, I think, is a big thing.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah.
Now, you are from Minnesota, correct?
Yeah.
What was it like for you growing up here? What part did you grow up? Did you grow up in Blaine here?
No, I actually grew up in North Minneapolis.
What?
Yeah.
North Side?
Yeah, North Side.
You grew up in the trap, y'all. Where'd you grow up in North Minneapolis?
43rd and Vincent. So.
43rd and Vincent. Okay.
Yeah.
Over there by Henry.
Yeah, I played sports at Henry, so played baseball and soccer at Henry.
Okay, Chris.
Yep, I was with all the white boys.
That's all right, because you was with the brothers too.
Yeah, well, yeah, they didn't want to play soccer and baseball that much. I don't know why. It was like all the white kids played baseball and soccer, and we had we had a couple of the African brothers on the soccer team, but that was about it.
Yeah, the African brothers would come play soccer with you, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you grew up in North Minneapolis, which at least gave you somewhat of a feel of multiculturalism. You know what I mean?
No,
I mean, you weren't like off where it's like, oh, I've never seen brothers before. It's like,
no, I mean, Patrick Henry, you're the minority.
Yeah, come on now, man. I'm the minority.
Yeah, I'm the minority. Just kidding.
As a white person now entering the field of politics, and kind of understanding a little bit of what your black brothers here in America are going through. We recently had the passing of George Floyd and or the murder of George Floyd. Do you feel, what would be your advice locally to African Americans? Say, we're gonna play like a game. Have you seen the movie? What is that movie where he was the politician? Is it Bullwinkle? God, I can't remember. Anyway, it's a movie where a politician wakes up and he starts telling the truth to the.
Yeah.
Warren Beatty plays.
I don't really remember it, but I think I've seen that a while ago.
But it's a great movie. God, now it's going to be on my brain anyway. But if you could if you woke up tomorrow and you were African American with braids, cornrows, but you were still the councilman.
Yeah.
But you weren't the councilman of Blaine. Now you were the councilman of North Minneapolis.
Okay.
How would you advise your people to vote, if you could, knowing what you know about politics now, in order to bring about the best change? Like, hey man, you might want to vote for your alderman, is somebody you might want to focus on, or a sheriff, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Or a councilman.
Yeah.
Is that key? A councilman Should African Americans, how should we focus voting locally, in your opinion?
I think I would say the biggest thing is you just gotta try to really do your research and connect with the person on an individual level. Because I think a lot of people, especially for what they call like down ballot, politicians or down ballot races, a lot of people just straight ticket Democrat, straight ticket Republican, or they don't really research. They just I'll just pick one person. Like I don't know who these people are, or my mom said to vote for so and so, so I'll do that. So I think the biggest thing would be, hey, really reach out to people, ask questions, figure out where they stand on things that you care about. Like, what are the biggest issues for you in your community? Is it everything going on with the police? Is it roads, infrastructure? Is it schools?
Say police.
Right.
If you feel that police is the problem and that's something that you would like to get involved in, what is a position that you might want to vote on then?
City council is big.
City council's big.
Right. I mean,
So
you see
councilman.
Minneapolis right now. I mean, the city council's voting to cut the police budget and all that stuff.
Right.
They're seeing the crime rate just go crazy in there, and it is what it is. But I mean, that's the city council. So I mean, city council there with that for sure. But yeah, I think I don't know.
Our problems locally we should start with city council. Would be a great
for
place to
certain
start.
things. Yeah, for sure.
With police.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. City council is important. I think the whole, George Floyd thing really amplified that.
Right. So like you, right?
Yeah.
Like you're a councilman.
Yep.
So say you were a councilman of North Minneapolis, and you were really upset about what happened to George Floyd.
Right.
Every day it bothered you.
Sure.
Like you woke up and you were just like, man, that wasn't right. I need to do something about how our police are policing, our black brothers in North Minneapolis. That would be a fight that you could actually take up and make noise on.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're doing it right now. I mean, they're wanting to, transition a lot of different things with the police department, and you see the city council making those decisions in Minneapolis. So.
Right. Mm-hmm.
All right, Chris. So now I understand that you've done a little bit of acting, Chris.
Yeah.
Been in the acting game.
Yep.
Did a few movies with, you said you did one with Ben Hughes.
Yeah. I did a film called The Protectors with Ben Hughes. He's a local videographer, filmmaker. He's done a lot of music videos here in Minneapolis. But
Shout out to Ben. What's up, Ben?
Ben Hughes, what's up, man?
Go
Watch The Protectors.
Go watch The Protectors, people.
Yeah, especially those who haven't yet.
See, Chris, you plug. That's what I like. See, the new generation understands. You got to plug your stuff, yo.
I understand.
You did have a situation that I was reading about where you were in a movie with Nicole Kidman, or in a movie that
I almost was in a movie.
you were almost in a movie with Nicole
Yeah.
Kidman, but it was a situation where you were 10 years old and they wanted you to get butt booty naked,
Yep.
and moms came in like, not my baby, not happening. He ain't going down that road.
That's right.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, it was kind of actually, I think God works all things for the good, but it was one of those things where it was my first trip out to New York, and it was kind of how I got discovered in a way. I had only been doing auditions locally here in Minneapolis, and I auditioned for a film with Nicole Kidman. And 2 weeks later, the director called me and was like, hey, we really like you for this project. We want you to fly out to New York, read with Nicole Kidman. So I did that. And during that time, my parents were reading the script. And it was about a 10-year-old boy, or Nicole Kidman's husband gets reincarnated as a 10-year-old boy. And they have like a bathtub scene and stuff. And
You were like, come on, Mom. You were like, Mom, Mom, it's Mom.
I don't think I had hit puberty yet. So
So you probably were a little bit like,
I probably was a little shy. anyway myself.
Nicole can't see. Yeah. The little tic tac.
Yeah.
Can't show the kill my little tic
I was
tac.
probably still pretty shy, but
That's good though for mom to step up and do that though. That's great because
Yeah.
some moms would have been like, get in there, boy, get that money. You know what I mean?
right, yeah, no, and I was glad. I mean, and it worked out. I got an agent in New York from that, and people were like, hey, who's this kid from Minneapolis that's auditioning for this high profile film? And so it worked out. I got an agent from it, and then I started auditioning in New York. off of that. So
Now you spent
So
quite a
cool.
few years in acting, right? You spent
Yeah.
like about what, 7 years, 5, 6, 7 years, just in
Man.
that field, kind of in that arena,
Yeah,
kind of.
I would say probably even more than that. But
Really?
yeah. So I started acting when I was 10, like I said. And I took a couple breaks, but I did a film when I was 26. I've done a few small independent films since then. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, let's talk about your transition into politics. What made you kind of want to get into politics, and how did that go about for you?
Yeah, it all kind of just happened this year. It was pretty quick.
Yeah.
I went to a human rights march out in Washington, D.C., and we went to a conference afterward, and they were talking about young people getting involved, and kind of like you were saying earlier, just the importance of seeing new faces, new perspectives, new ideas,
Yes.
and kind of that feeling, when you go see an inspirational speaker and you're like, oh yeah, like that was so good, like
Hit you.
I'm pumped up about this. So kind of had a little bit of that, and then some of my friends were really encouraging me, like, hey, you should go for this. If it's in your heart, you should do it. And so I ended up coming back to Minnesota. I talked to some people locally here, and they're like, well, you could run for city council and just see how it goes. And I honestly did not have any idea of what to expect running for city council. I learned a ton, but once I kind of got into it, I just kind of that competitive nature in me. I just I wanted to hit it hard. I wanted to go talk to everybody in Blaine that was in my ward, and really try to represent their needs. And so we just went for it. I did a lot of door knocking and ended up winning. I was kind of surprised, to be honest, because the councilman that I took his seat, he wasn't a bad guy. He wasn't a bad councilman.
Okay.
It's really hard to beat an incumbent. But
Yes.
we ended up winning, and really grateful. So
Yeah. Nice. And the hard work, man. Like I said,
Yep.
all through the city, I didn't know who anybody else was. I was kid. This is Chris's town, man. This is Chris's town, man. Chris
That's
is out
right.
here gang banging
Yeah.
on it. You gang banging. What was it, gangbang campaigning? I was like, dang, he got to stand up in Walmart? What is going on?
I had a
This is
lot of
Chris's-
signs up. And I didn't want to do the little signs. I did the big signs because I didn't want people to think I was a roofing contractor. Because we got so many of those up in Blaine, and
Yes,
it's
we
like
do. Yes, we
they
do.
got their signs everywhere. So I had to get the big ones. But.
Now, do you have any aspirations of any kind of like higher offices after this? Is this kind of something where you're like, I'd like to try my hand at something else?
Not at this time. I think I'm just kind of taking it a step at a time with this. I'm not looking to switch careers. I have a great job. I work as a digital marketer. I do SEO and websites, and I really like what I do. So I'm not trying to make a career out of politics or anything, but I'm also always open to new opportunities. That's just the type of person that I am. It's like, hey, something comes up, I'll
Right,
go for it. You
yeah.
know, it's like,
Don't threaten me with a good time.
yeah, if a door opens, I mean, I'm gonna go through it. So you never know. But well, just one step at a time, and I'll be serving Blaine here for the next 4 years at least, and that'll be my focus, is just trying to represent what people want at the city level. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, as far as Blaine, are we going to do anything about this 65? Do you know
That's
that
the
some
issue,
days
man.
I go get Chipotle, and I sit waiting to try to get on 65, and you just see
Yep.
lights of the never ending story you see. You know what I mean? And
That's
it's just
the
like
issue.
And then you got Lexington over here is also developing rapidly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep. And if we're not careful, it's going to be another Highway 65 over there. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I didn't campaign on Highway 65 just because, I've lived in Blaine. So I moved from North Minneapolis up to Blaine when I was 18, 19. So I've lived here for 10 years now.
Okay.
And every politician that I've, followed or that stopped by my door is like, we're going to fix Highway 65. We're going to make sure it works. And it's like, well, it's still in process,
You ain't did it
done
yet.
they've done a lot of good things with it, and we're kind of getting there closer and closer. But
They fixed the 35W. We've almost fixed 35W. Y'all ain't did nothing with 65. Come on now.
Yep. Well, we got a few overpasses on Highway 65, which is great. But it wasn't something that I was campaigning on just because it's something that we really need the state of Minnesota to step in and do. I mean, there's certain steps that the city can take. We can lobby. we can try to fix certain intersections, but at the end of the day, I think we really need Minnesota as a state to prioritize Blaine and to prioritize the North Metro area. We need to to see them put some infrastructure in place to really prioritize this growing part of the Twin Cities. They spend a lot of time and a lot of money in the West and the South, and it's like, hey, like you guys got to start prioritizing the North Twin City suburbs. So.
Cool. Now, I see that you did take a little bit of jujitsu as a kid.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow, you did your research.
Yeah,
Nice.
did my
That's
research
good.
on
That's
you.
good. That's
Are
good.
you a UFC fan? Do you like
Not
UFC?
really.
No?
The cages bug me, man.
Really?
I just I don't know if it's like
It adds an animal thing? Like, it doesn't...
yeah, it's like when people like get up against the cages and they're just like going and just like it's just like like come on, mercy, like I
Right.
think I feel like compassion for the person that's just
Was
getting
smashed.
totally
Yeah.
totally destroyed, and I'm like, no, come on, like let up on him.
Right.
So I don't like it. I did jiu-jitsu as a kid. I actually trained with an amazing martial arts instructor named Greg Nelson. He teaches at the academy where Brock Lesnar went, and so he's a really good martial arts
Shouts out
instructor.
to Greg.
Yep, Greg Nelson, amazing man. I mean, he's not just with like jiu-jitsu, but just amazing man of character, and training youth, and like just instilling values, and just how to succeed at life into young people. So he's just an amazing guy. Loved being a part of his program, but yeah, didn't really go anywhere after I was like,
I'm sure you learned
13.
some good lessons
Oh,
from
yeah.
that you take.
Life lessons for sure.
That you're using right now.
For sure.
How do you feel? We're going to be wrapping up pretty soon here, but how do you feel about COVID-19 affecting? Do you think that kind of, as a people, this is something that we'll be able to get past? And do you feel that we're in the process of getting past it? Do you feel that this country is kind of dealing with it the best way that we can? Or do you feel like after COVID-19, we might be looking at a totally different America? Or do you think that we might be able to get back kind of to the way things were after COVID-19?
I hope we can get back to the way things were. I think, you hear people say that a lot, like a new normal, or I don't know if we'll ever get back to the way things were. It's just like,
I say it just like you said it right there, Chris.
I hope
I've said it like
you
that.
You said
before.
it like that? Okay. The way things were.
Yeah.
We're never going to get to that point, I really hope that that's not true. I mean, I think that I love movies. I love going to movie theaters. I love going out to eat. I love,
Me too.
I love being around people. I love going to concerts. I mean, I don't go to a ton of concerts. You're into music. You probably go to way more than me.
Yeah.
But
but when you want to go to
that
one,
type of stuff,
don't tell me I can't go to one
exactly,
when Kanye's here and he's doing the Jesus album.
Sunday
I want to
service.
go.
Yeah,
I
want to
go
to Sunday service. Come on, Kanye, come to Minneapolis. But yeah, no, I hope we get back to the way things were this summer. I mean, I think hopefully the vaccine will be effective and everything, and we will. So
okay,
yeah.
Well, that's pretty much it. Chris, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Simba. Really appreciate it, and love what you're doing with the podcast. So,
and this is one of many. Like I said, I'll reach out to you again. Now, as long as you're a councilman, I think I'll be able to get you like this. If you decide to step it up and get mayor, it's probably gonna be a little tough to get you on the show.
Hey,
But I'm gonna use this show, Chris. I'll pop up at your front. I'll storm the Capitol. I'll storm the Capitol and I'll play this. You see that movie when he played the radio outside the window? I'll say, Chris, one more episode.
Hey, you know what, man? You keep putting my signs up in your yard. You got me on your show. There
Thank you,
That's
man.
called a quid pro quo. No.
Yes, that's politics. You do, I do.
I'm just kidding.
This is the North Star Podcast. Don't forget that common sense is the best form of currency because it can be spent and used anywhere. I appreciate Chris Massoglia for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Like I said, one of many. And great luck in your going forward with your political career, man.
Thanks for having me, Simba. Best of luck with this podcast and keep up the great work.
Will do.
Awesome.
See y'all.